Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with Emmett Muckles and friends. Remember, today is a blessed day because you were allowed to experience it. I can't say it any simpler than that, but you were allowed to experience it. Now, today, I got Manuel here. And after seeing change that constantly make an effort to embrace the journey and block out negativity made in his life, he knew he had to share this knowledge. Now, he has some modalities that he can pull from that can help us along that journey. Everyone, let's welcome Manuel Astruc. How are you, sir?
I am awesome. I am so glad to be here.
I mean, you look shiny. You got like this glow on you, man. You didn't have a baby or anything, did you?
No. Since we've been Zooming so much, I've been just kind of getting a setup so that got the lighting just so.
It looks great. It looks great.
No, that's awesome. Great.
And that attention to detail, that lets me know that you really want to help people in their journey. And you got into psychiatry. So how did you get into psychiatry as your foray in life?
So I got into med school because I was good at math and science, and there wasn't much thought about it. So after college, it was just automatically into med school. So 4 years of college, 4 years of med school. And at the end, you've got to pick what you're going to get into. And what I had found that I enjoyed the most was hanging out with patients after all my work was done to learn about them, right? That's what I loved.
Right.
But it was hard to make that decision because I liked everything, and psychiatrists, it changed the modality of medicine. You don't do life-saving things, thumping on chests, giving medicines. But I decided to go with what I really enjoyed, getting to know people better.
But from that, you branched out because you forayed into coaching. So, most people, especially if you come from another country, because many people who are immigrants here, they come to and aspire to be a doctor or a lawyer or something, and you've made that, but now you're ascending into coaching. So how did that go down that path to say, hey, I think I can do some work over here?
I had an aspiration to make some more of an impact in the world, and there's a little bit of a story here. I had a very successful practice, 20 years, and I was working 12-hour days, just patients all over that needed to be served and treated. And then 2008, August 2008, my twin sister Magdalena passed away from a brain tumor. She had been fighting the cancer for 3 years, and she finally passed away. And she handled her illness with such grace and love and humility. It was really something to behold. And after she passed, the month afterwards, I was miserable. I'd gotten very, very burnt out with all the work that I was doing. And I had a moment where, something had to change, and I drew a line in the sand. And that was the moment where I started to explore other options and modalities. And after 12 years, what I'm really doing now is using coaching to make an impact in a different way than I can as a psychiatrist.
I have a question that's formulating in my head. I just don't know how to put it forth. But being a psychiatrist or being in psychiatry, why coaching? Why not, hey, I'm going to write this book and I'm going to have these seminars and I'm going to just tell people what I know. But you decided to be very personal about it. So why coaching in particular?
It's been a 12-year process, and I started exactly like what you're saying. I started with, I'm going to take my knowledge out into the world, the disease model, and talk about bipolar disorder and depression. And there were lots of things that I could talk about, and that's actually where I started. But I found that my heart wasn't in that. So if you think about it, with psychiatry, we take people who are not functioning well and we get them up to a level of functioning where they can continue with their life. What I was drawn towards was excellence. What I was drawn towards was the ability to go from where you are to something that's just amazing and awesome, and to really fulfill your full capabilities. And that's something that psychiatry didn't let me do, but coaching does. And also, as a coach, I can take my psychiatry hat off, put on my coaching hat, and I can talk about things like my own personal experience, being burnt out, and the things that I have to share from kind of my heart and my head that as a psychiatrist I can't do.
So so let's clear this up. So as a psychiatrist, you really have to, it's almost like just the facts. So you can't share your interpersonal, you can't relate to your customer. Is that what you're saying?
There's a profession, and within the profession, when you have a profession, you've got a set of professional guidelines and standards of care. And the standards of care that I've developed with very good reason have been that we limit our self exposure of ourselves and our lives and what's going on with us. And it's all about the patient, right? It's all about the client. The focus is exclusively on them.
So if I'm not going to even go there. we will go down a rabbit hole. So what has been the most important parts of recovering from that burnout that you were experiencing?
The first step was for me, after my sister had passed away, there was an afternoon where I was in a dark room and I was literally looking at a picture of her. And in the picture, she's glowing. You can't even tell she's going through chemo. She's got a wig on, she's radiant. And I said, something's got to change. And that was my line in the sand moment where I said, I've got to be happy no matter what. If my sister, my twin sister, showed the ability to be happy with the diagnosis and the treatment that she was having, I've got to enjoy the ride no matter what. And then I bumbled along for a while, and I started to take care of myself physically, which I had not been doing. I started taking myself emotionally and spiritually. I cut out all negativity in my life, and I started to explore different avenues than just my profession. So I let my mind and my learning progress into marketing and leadership and coaching. There's so many other things that are just really interesting in the world to learn about, and letting yourself explore the buffet of life and tasting all the juicy things that are out there. That was just amazing.
You're so right, because we're in a space where everyone says you have to be a niche person, where you have to find your niche and just grind that to death. But that's not life. Life is so dynamic. Life is so big, and most of us don't get to experience it. But I like how you pulled out of it that you said, enjoy the ride, basically, no matter what. And was that really inspired by your sister, or was that a culmination that came out as you were going through the journey?
Oh no! So I mean, it was literally that moment that just I've got to pull myself out of this. And there's a concept that Cal Newport talks about in his book, "So Good They Can't Ignore You," and what he talks about is the adjacent possible. So he says, get career capital, get really good at what you're doing, become that niche person.
Yeah.
But from there, you get to explore the adjacents that don't require a big investment of time, money, or energy. And from those adjacents, you're developing nodes and networks and people and knowledge, and each one leads to more things. And if you keep doing that and you have a vision of what you want in your life, lightning's going to strike somewhere, and you're going to develop the life that it's just going to amaze you, that you couldn't even believe it could happen.
You just made me think about my own life in retrospect, because that's exactly what happened. I got really good at this narrow bandwidth. And then, once you get really good at something, you almost get bored with it. It's kind of like being Michael Jordan. You're like, I've won so many rings. What am I going to do now? Hey, maybe I'll go into baseball. Maybe I'll go into this. Maybe I can go into that. So you're very right. And that's a good kind of thought process for people to adhere to from what you're saying. With that, there's some mindset changes that are required when you are not in the place that you need to be. And it's particularly, you said there are 3 mindset changes that people can make right now to have impact in their life.
So the first thing is what they call the growth mindset. So the growth mindset means I can get better.
Right.
And you really helped me. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, and you said, "Hey, you can get better at this. Let me give you some feedback." Right? So you helped me so much, and I initially I was stung, right? But it really helped me to just say, "I can get better." Right? Thank you so much. It's not criticism. It's like helping us all get better. So good and so important. So the growth mindset, embrace it. Right? The next thing is learning and growing, exploring, tasting those things that are adjacent to what you normally do. And then you put these things together. And for me, the definition of happiness, like enjoying the ride, is the ability to recognize we're never finished products, right? There's always more learning, growing opportunities that we have. And then you put that together with blaze your own trail. Become your own trailblazer. And when you're doing that, my definition of happiness is putting those 2 things together. Those are the mindset shifts that I think you can transition into to really have a remarkable experience in this life.
Now, I want to go back because I do this with every guest. I typically do it at the beginning of the podcast. So, and we kind of know, but I want to go all the way back. What brought you to now? What brought you to that point before your sister? What made you say, here's where I want to be when I grow up, when I become an adult?
It's interesting. Looking back, I was always drawn towards excellence, and I was drawn towards stories where there were heroes, and the ability to push myself to get out of my comfort zone was something that I didn't really have, but I admired in others. And what ultimately happened when I made a commitment to enjoying the ride and was really kind of breaking free and letting myself kind of be uncomfortable, but like developing that hero story for my own life. That's kind of the arc if we go way back to when I was a kid. Yeah. I would just spend all my time reading about heroes.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I see behind you, you have Your Next Act. What's that about?
So Your Next Act is the coaching program that I am developing and have developed, and it's a work in progress. But it basically talks about, 2 aspects. Your next act is, who are you becoming? Who is the person that you want to be? What are the skills, capabilities that you need to learn to become the best version of you that you can? And then the next actions that you're actually taking today to help you to get to where you want to be.
Ooh, important. We can have all the theories, we can have all the thoughts, we can have all the ideas, but if you don't, like Jim Rome says, action is a very important component in your success and your being. Over the course of your career, have you seen the forcefulness of action or the lack of action being where people stumble?
Where people stumble and where I personally have stumbled, right? So before I got into coaching, I was consuming content constantly, learning and but I wasn't implementing, I wasn't executing, I wasn't taking action because I had a problem in my headspace where I was worried about what people would think. I'm a psychiatrist. What am I doing coaching? Like, what in the world does that happen? And you know what actually helped me with that was Brene Brown in her book, Daring Greatly. She's got the Man in the Arena speech from Teddy Roosevelt in 1915. And it basically talks about being in the arena, having critics, and if you have a worthy goal, dare greatly, because that's important, right? Dare greatly, take that action, no matter what, get bloodied up. And that helped me to execute and take action on stuff that I was waiting for confidence, but you can't get confidence until you take actions and go through the fear.
Yeah, and I always tell my children this, and some of the people, I'm going to go try to fail.
Yeah.
Because in failure, what you're going to find out is, A, it wasn't that bad.
Right.
B, you'll also find out what didn't work. So you can go try again. So now you're like, because I've seen this. I've seen where someone's tried something like this person just sucks. And then they come back in and everybody knows, oh, they suck. And it goes time and time again. And all of a sudden they just go, everything clicks, everything fires. And they're like, what happened? It's because with each iteration, you got better till one day it was like, boom, everything stuck together. And it almost looked like this preformed thing. That's why people say overnight sensations. People say, oh, that person's over. No, you didn't see all those years of failure that they were honing their skills to get to where they are now. But let's pose this question to you. Who is your perfect customer?
Successful, growth-minded entrepreneurs who are having trouble with stress and burnout. They're having troubles with their thinking process and their spirit. And they really are focused on using mental fitness, getting their head right as the competitive advantage for growing their business.
Awesome. How can people find you?
ManuelAstruc.com. So ManuelAstruc.com. And on Facebook, I do morning musings from this little setup every single Monday through Friday, 2 to 3 minutes before I start seeing patients. So Manuel Astruc Coaching. I do morning musings. Feel free to join me there.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is great.
My pleasure. This was a blast. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the day that you were given to do it again. Remember, we're in a really weird space in 2020. And I know I'm not supposed to say dates, so content can be evergreen. But from this point forward, this is a new paradigm. What we have to do is be humans and adjust, which means you have to be just to adjust. And what do I mean by that? I know I'm just breaking it down. That means treat others like you want to be treated. If you find someone who has eyes, an ear, and a nose, and they have your form, basically they're a human being, which is a person of the sun, because we are all under the sun, in the image of man having an experience, treat them like you want to be treated. This is so prevalent now because for some odd reason, we think we're separate. If you go out into the cosmos, we will look like dots. We look like you're looking under a microscope. There's just these dots. And then as you get in, you get some detail. But as you get lower into us, we start to look like the outward universe internally. We are all billionaires. Starting from day 30 of our inception, 2 to the power of 30, when 2 cells met, you were a billionaire and you had to get the planet. I just want you to really understand how special you are, but how ununique you are in the global scheme of things, because we are all of one body. This is so important. Don't be the virus that eats us alive. Be the nourishment that our society needs. Till next time, love you all. Peace.